Now here's our typical lab. We got our Kali box and all these things, but today this is the firewall. This is what we're at. And firewalls, hopefully I mentioned this in lecture, firewalls are basically gatekeepers for network traffic that are configured to allow good traffic through or traffic that's authorized and blocks traffic that is not authorized. Standard issue for our labs, I'd recommend you go to the content tab and download the lab manual using this button right here and have it open as we're going through this, okay? Best practice. All right, so let's get into it. So we're going to do the first lab in the lab manual, and this is blocking ICMP on the firewall. Now, really quick, I mentioned in the networking class ping. So ping is like a very basic, almost common troubleshooting technique that technicians, IT people, whatever, use to verify a network is up, right? So you ping an IP address, right? If the IP address responds, that means that the machine is up, it's got an IP, and you got to troubleshoot somewhere else, right? But it's almost like one of the first things you do when you're troubleshooting. Well, you can configure a firewall to not respond to ping requests. And, you know, there's many reasons why you'd want to do that. You don't want to make it obvious that your system is up or whatever. So that's what we're going to do. So like, let's jump into this Ubuntu machine here. Press enter. We're going to do login as student and with a secure password. So mine pops up on guest session. Make sure you click student, okay? Not guest session. There we go. And the password is secure password. Okay. We're going to open a terminal. Click on the terminal window. Now check it out. Ping. We're going to ping C4, which it just number of times we're going to try to ping it. 203.0.113.2, which is our Kali box, right? Press enter. And you could see it's pinging back, you know, basically 4 packets sent, 4 packets received. So we sent it, it came back. It pinged back. This machine, you know, we have the topology, so I know what it is. But if you didn't know anything, you would just know that, okay, there is a machine at this IP, right? Remember the Nmap lab, right? Like now that you know there's there, you could then Nmap scan it to see what ports are listening and stuff like that, what services are up. But let us go into our Kali box. We're going to log in. We're going to do root, and we're going to do Tor, right? Root backwards. We're going to go to our terminal like we always do. Command line interface. And we are going to ping the Ubuntu box, right? So basically, we are just verifying and understanding that these two machines, this guy right here and this guy right here, can communicate with each other. You'll see, I mean, there's a firewall in between, right? But right now they're able to ping each other, which means they can communicate with each other. Okay. Let's go back to our Ubuntu box. We're going to launch Firefox, which is this blue and red orange thing here. And in the address bar, we're going to type in 192.168.1.1, which, if you remember, right here is the IP address for our 192.168.1.1. And we're on the Ubuntu box, right? So it's on the same network segment. So this makes sense. So essentially what we're doing here is we are using the Ubuntu box to interface with a web browser-based administrative console for the firewall, right? Which is pretty common nowadays. You don't like secure shell into a command line interface. They make these administrative consoles to make it easier to manage the firewalls, basically, okay? So let's log in with admin for the username and pfsense for the password. And we're presented with a dashboard with some information about the firewall, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the firewall across the menu, nav menu, whatever, the tabs at the top. And we're going to go to rules, okay? Now we're viewing the external underscore GW, which mine defaulted to. And click the plus icon to add one. Okay. So you can see, like, basically right now the firewall is configured. Like, don't sweat. Like, you don't need to fully understand all this stuff. But if you remember the networking course lecture, source IP and port that it's trying to connect on, destination IP, port it's trying to connect on, right? So whenever we're communicating across a network, there's two endpoints, right? Trying to communicate with each other. When you go to google.com, it's your computer and Google's server. And the Google server has an IP and your computer has an IP, and that's how network traffic travels, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to configure, by clicking this button right here in the right corner, a firewall rule, okay? So we're going to choose block. Okay. We're going to choose ICMP from the protocol list. I scrolled down a little bit. Right, a bunch of good protocols. Don't worry about all these. Okay. And we're going to say, where's the network? Oh, here we are. Under source, we're going to choose network. And we are going to put in 203.0.113.0/29, which is that CIDR notation. Okay. Which is basically saying, well, hold on, I'll tell you in a second. Click save at the bottom, okay, right here. So now we've got this very specific firewall rule that any traffic coming from 203.0.113.0/29 will on ICMP will be blocked. It does not mean that traffic destined for 203.0.113.0 is blocked. It's just if this is the source, right? And I'm pretty sure we're going to verify that in a second. I just want to point out, see, this is that network 203.0.113.0. So anything coming from here, not just this Kali box, if you put another machine on this network, it would be also blocked, okay? So let me see, let's go back to the Ubuntu page. We have to click this apply changes button, okay? Make sure you do that. Okay. We're going to click close. Excellent. Good job, everybody. So now, basically your pfSense firewall configuration should look like this, okay? So let's go back to the Kali box and let's try to ping it. Now remember, this shouldn't work because we just put that firewall in. Okay, so you can see it failed, right? 0 received right here. That means it failed. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this for your file upload. I'd like to see the ping working and then the ping failing, which would indicate that you configured the firewall correctly. Now, not part of the lab, but I just want to show you. Let's go back to our Ubuntu machine. Now check this out. I'm pinging from the Ubuntu to the Kali box. It still works, right? Because we've configured it that it can't come from there, not that it can't go there. All right, so that's the important distinction with the firewall. You configure very much like where it's coming from and where it's going, what's allowed and everything like that. Being a firewall administrator, like it could be a network engineering responsibility, but in larger organizations, there's people who just work on the firewall because it's such an important piece of security, especially in a business where you have to allow traffic in and out, but you have to be very deliberate about what's allowed and what's not allowed. All right, I hope you enjoyed the lab. Thanks for sending over this screenshot, and yeah, we'll see you in the next lab.